Well, Graham, happy with a point today?
We aim for a point at the start of the game because we have to stop the rot. And the way to do that is to get a base, be hard to beat, go back to the basics, keeping a clean sheet and playing for a 0-0. And from that you build. We did that. We saw out a battle for an hour. We competed. It wasn't the best of a football match, wasn't the prettiest, but the pitch was conducive to that. We got all through that. We got ourselves in front with 8 minutes to go, and we couldn't see out the game, and we were not intelligent enough to see out the game.
Why do you think that was? I mean, looking at it from where I was standing, obviously free kick from miles out, the boy was only going to do one thing, bearing in mind his long run-up, and I don't even think we had a wall.
I can't comment at the moment because that's too early for me to make an opinion on that from just quickly seeing it at first glance from a position that's not as favourable as you in the stand. So we'll look at the DVD and we'll assess that. If there's a problem with the wall, we'll address that. If there's no wall, we'll address that. If there's no wall and the goalkeeper wanted that, we'll address that. If the goalkeeper's at fault, we'll address that. We could go back before that incident and say it was down to my right winger not putting the ball in the channel or not putting the ball off the side of the pitch and giving a throw-in away instead of kicking it down their goalkeeper's throat, who can launch the ball forward into our back four. That's where the problem started.
Without harping on too much about the goal, do you think it had anything to do with Ross perhaps being rather immobile, because obviously he'd taken a bit of a clattering just before that and was down having treatment for quite some time?
If that was the case and he was immobile, he should have told me that and come off, and we'd have put someone else in goal. But after he got injured, he seemed to be moving quite freely to me. Yes, he's probably got a bang somewhere on his body, which is sore. But hey, we're men, you know, and we get kicks in football. And if that's the case, then get on with it. If it's too serious to continue, then he's got to be honest and put his hand up and say, Gaffer, I can't continue. I can't move. He didn't do either of those two things.
Looking at the positives today, I thought Penny looked very lively throughout, and he took his goal magnificently, didn't he?
Yeah, to be fair to Penny, you know, he's a finisher. We know he's a finisher, and he's a little bit sharp and he's strong. He's taken a great goal today. He's been unfortunate in his previous games because, you know, he's scored against Worcester. He scored a couple of offsides against Worcester, tucked them in calmly. He's a calm finisher. He's one of the finishers that we haven't got. You know, we haven't got calm finishers at the club. So I'm pleased for him. He keeps getting in scoring positions even when we're losing. And he's been a big asset for us, and he will continue to be a big asset right through to the end of his loan.
And presumably you'll be having a word with him, won't you, about taking his shirt off, because that means you get a booking.
Well, I'm sure he must know the rules of football, that when you take your shirt off you get a booking. Maybe he doesn't. Or maybe it's a silly rule, because when you score, and if you've been any kind of sportsman in football and you do score, you get an adrenaline kick, you're emotional, you get excited, emotions that you can't describe, and you do silly things. You do silly jigs, you do silly dances, you take your shirt off, you jump in the crowd. That is just spontaneous, and when it happens, for me, keep doing it. You know, and if the rule's there, it's a yellow card, and one day it's your second yellow card, and you get the red, that doesn't make sense.
You spoke earlier about the makeup of the side today. And obviously you brought back two very experienced players. Obviously John Boardman, captain, returned today, and there was also a return to Sam Slomer, who's been out of the side for quite some time.
Yes, Sam's had to wait his time, you know, and it's not about what he's done before. You know, Sam I've seen in 3 or 4 games in recent weeks, in cup games, in friendlies, in reserve games. And I've had a one-to-one with Sam and said, look, you know, you're not showing me that you need to get back into my team by your last 4 performances, 2 in the reserves and 2 in the Surrey Senior Cup. You're not showing me enough energy or enough commitment or showing me that you should be back in my team. But since I've had a one-to-one with him, he's knuckled down in training. He had a very good game, his last game against Willstone away. And now it's the time for me to go with experience now, and I will. I will go with the experienced boys right through to the end of the season. The only reason I left John Boardman out last week was it was a home game, and I wanted an attacking right back playing at home who could get forward with pace in Ricky and Anne. And that's why I did it last week. And I was going to play the big strong back 4 away from home to the end of the season. and the smaller back four, Ricky and Ann, playing at home. Unfortunately, Ricky and Ann has lost his confidence. So, you know, we'll grind away now with the experienced boys. We'll put the pressure on the experienced boys, and hopefully they can pull us through.
You must have been delighted that Mark Ricketts lasted 90 minutes, and to me, again, his performance showed what a big player he is for us today. And in particular, in the second half, when I mentioned earlier Ross got injured, it was Mark Ricketts who got back in with an absolutely fantastic tackle there and really saved the day.
Well, that's what good players who know the game, who read the game, who can play the game, that's what good players do. And that's why Mark Ricketts is 7 out of 10 every week. If the rest of my team was 7 out of 10 every week, I'm not expecting them to be, because, you know, some are 17, some are 18, some are 19, some are 20, some are 21. Mark Ricketts has learned his football from his younger years. He's now a mature footballer who knows where to be, what to do, and he makes correct decisions. That's why he is 7 out of 10 that week. Next season, we can hopefully get 11 Mark Ricketts.
Turning now to next week, and probably the week after that, obviously we've got back-to-back fixtures coming up against Staines. That could well decide perhaps which one of those teams makes the playoffs. I understand Staines lost today, so presumably you really want the boys to be up for it and ready for next week.
John, I'm not interested in any fixtures coming up. I'm not interested in any games, what are in the future, who we're playing, whether it's back-to-back games or every other Saturday. I'm not interested. All I look at is Tuesday's game in the Cup, which is obviously going to be, if it's on, Bagshot Lee. After that, the next fixture will be obviously back at home on Saturday. That's as far as we look, that's as far as we go. What other people do is no concern. I've never looked at other people's results. I've never looked at the league. I couldn't tell you where we are in the league. I couldn't even tell you who we're playing after next Saturday's game. I don't look that far ahead. So we just deal, in the old cliches, one game at a time. That's how I work. If other people look at it differently, that's up to them. We're just concerned that we have to be more consistent rather than inconsistent. The way you do that is set your stall out for a one game and keep to your game plan. We'll be more rigid, we'll be less open from now to the end of the season, we'll be more solid. We will go out with the mindset to draw games, and if wins comes off the back of that, great. But we'll be, from now on, a very difficult team to beat.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.